The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles.
Charles, I am so sorry. I completely forgot to file the paperwork.
What?
We didn't get the offer for Bonza Airlines in before the deadline with the liquidators.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh, no. So who ended up
Nobody.
buying it? Who ended up... What?
No one bought it. There was zero expressions of interest with Chadwick Hall, the liquidators. And so they just had a town hall meeting with the staff. It was more like an abattoir meeting, Charles, because they all got sacked. 323 staff from Bonza, all gone.
Oh.
You should have got the offer in.
I am shocked that an airline that didn't fly to Sydney, and didn't fly, it would seem, anywhere that anyone actually wanted to go, would not get any offers.
We should have bought it, Charles. We should have bought it.
It enters a long list of failed Australian airlines. And in the same way that Bob Ansett would be turning in his grave to know that yet another airline has gone bust.
Would he be turning in his grave?
I'm sure Bob Bonza is also turning in his grave.
Or would Bob's corpse be as grounded as his fleet was? I'm not sure. Let's talk more about this in a moment. Yeah, it is sad. Look, it is sad. We'll try and figure it out in a sec. But I just want to hear from the Secretary just to remind us that there's people whose livelihoods were affected by this.
Devastating news for 323 workers and their families who've had confirmation at last from the administrators that their employment will be terminated with Bonza. Think about the discussions that are going on those families today. Our thoughts are with them.
No, don't think about the family because we'll start to feel too sad. That's the Transport Workers Union boss there who's very, very sad.
But it can't have been a huge shock.
This is the thing. The idea that they've only just had confirmation that Bonza wasn't coming back. I mean, the triumph of optimism over logic.
Wouldn't have been a shock. It wouldn't have been a shock when it actually went into administration a month ago. Like, surely the biggest shock was getting a job with Bonza in the first place. And go, you want me to fly between Townsville and Rockhampton?
I mean, I would have thought the first surprise came when A, you saw the ad for an airline called Bonza.
Yeah.
2, when you applied for a job there, surprising yourself. 3rd, when they said, yes, we have gainful employment for you at Bonza. And looking at the route map, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to fly from Albury to Mackay, or, I don't know, Gladstone. I don't even know where Gladstone is. It's Toowoomba Well Camp. I assume that means there's a closer Toowoomba airport that they can't afford to get into. It was not.
It's the Avalon of Toowoomba.
Yeah, that's right. I just think they should have sold it to us. I mean, we surely, if I'd got the paperwork in, we would have had the best offer, by virtue of it being the only offer.
Well, I reckon, there's a lot of panhandlers around because there's a recession on. I mean, I know that there's not technically a recession, but we're definitely in a recession.
It feels like a recession.
Right? There's lots of panhandlers. They should have just given it to a panhandler. It would have been worth $5.
That's so mean.
One of those squidgy guys. You know the guys.
Squeegee
you know
guy.
how there's so many people who want to clean your windscreen now, and you have to explain, I haven't carried cash in 5 years.
Yeah, cash is no longer a thing. I'm just looking at the route map. Just the capital cities where they fly, Charles. Sydney, yes or no?
No.
Brisbane?
Oh, they would have flown to Brisbane.
No. Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. And Toowoomba. So they kind of encircled Brisbane without ever actually going there.
Yeah.
Hobart, what do you reckon?
Nah.
No, they went, fuck that. We're going to go to Launceston. What about Adelaide? Do you think they flew to Adelaide?
They would have flown to Adelaide, definitely.
No. Far too ritzy for Bonza.
Oh, really?
Yep, apparently.
Not even Adelaide. Gosh, that is bottom of the barrel.
What about Perth?
Nah.
No. In fact, the map of Australia on their website that shows where they fly doesn't even show Western Australia. It's quite extraordinary. It's kind of cut off.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah,
that's the one thing where I thought Bonza got it right, was just cutting off Western Australia.
Okay, what about Canberra?
Yeah, they probably went to Canberra.
No, they didn't go to Canberra.
No?
They went to Albury, which is vaguely in the same direction. There's nothing between Newcastle and Albury.
Albury's the Wodonga of Canberra.
That's right.
No, Albury's the Canberra of Wodonga.
Yes, that's right. So there's nothing in the most populated kind of corridor of the whole state there, of the whole country.
But
there,
they went to Melbourne Avalon, didn't they?
So here's the surprising one. They went to Melbourne Avalon and Melbourne Tullamarine. So they flew to 2 airports in Melbourne and no other state or territory capital at all in the entire country except for one. Darwin.
Yeah, Darwin.
Of course they went to Darwin.
They went to Darwin. Yeah.
They did.
So I suppose maybe, look, I know that this might sound horrendously defamatory.
You can't defame
you
the
think
dead.
that-
Bonza's pretty dead.
Do you think that they were just, it was an elaborate drug running operation?
But
Because
you,
if
you
you
can't
think
have
about
a
it-
profitable drug running operation that doesn't go to Bondi, can you?
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at the FAQs here, the frequently asked questions. What the fuck happened is not on the list. Is traveling with an assistance dog? Can I fly with my assistance dog? It says we welcome them. No, you don't. Bonza bucks. Here's a good one. What's Bonza bucks? Oh, they give you Bonza bucks if your flight is delayed extensively, which arguably...
See, look, when the airline went under, I may have been very poor, but I was a Bonza billionaire.
You're a Bonza buck
in
billionaire.
Bonza bucks. Yeah.
About Bonza, who are we? Australia's new and only independent low-cost airline servicing domestic and regional routes in Australia. They deliver great and simple and great value domestic travel. They had such high hopes, Charles.
I think that it speaks to a wider problem, though.
Yeah, of just hope in anything.
No, that Australia isn't good at capitalism.
Oh.
I think we need to start jettisoning.
This is
See,
a
if
good
Bonza had some sort of military reason to exist, you know, like if there was some sort of national security angle,
Yes.
they could have got money out of that pie.
This is the problem. They didn't have submarines. If they had a submarine service between, I don't know, Mildura and the Sunshine Coast, they'd still be running.
Exactly. Or even if they didn't want to go into defence, I reckon selling cheap shit from China is another good business model. Like, you know, the sort of Harvey Norman thing.
Air Timu.
Or maybe what they should have done is they should have loaded up their 747s or 737s with iron ore.
Oh, what a
and
good
flown
idea.
it to China.
That's a much better. Or like, why not have a flying casino? Like,
Ooh,
for
yes,
too long. I mean, there's
yes.
casinos on cruise ships. There's casinos in, I don't know, places like Macau and Vegas. Why don't we have pokies in the air? What have we missing? It's
And
an
I
obvious
imagine
business model.
There'd be tax advantages.
Of course
'Cause,
there would.
You know what would be also good is you could solve the housing crisis because it would probably be cheaper because the fares were really cheap.
They were.
People should have just, like millennials and Gen Z who can't afford a home, should have just booked constant fares on Bonza Airlines. It would have worked out cheaper than renting
A night
in
train.
Sydney.
It probably would have been cheaper than a night
Yeah.
train. I'm just looking at the website. It's so sad because, I mean, they haven't been able to afford to change anything, Charles. All except one page, which you go click on careers and it says page not found.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, what might have been? They flew too close to the sun and too close to the Sunshine Coast, I feel.
The Chaser Report. News you can't trust.
I've actually just figured out what their problem was.
Yeah.
Which is that they were trying to do airfares for the poor, the povos, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all
yeah, that was
cheap,
low cost,
right?
yeah.
And that works, you know, in Ryanair and, you know, in Europe and stuff like that. But here, we don't gear our society towards povos. We gear it towards the top end of town.
Oh, yes,
What
indeed.
it should have been is it should have been every seat was first class and, you know, you get to sit on a povo or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole way Australia sees it, like it was trying to hark back to, Bonza, you know, their planes were called things like Sheila and Sharon and Shazza.
That's
and
not
stuff
Australia
like that.
in 2024. We don't do that stuff anymore.
No, what we do is we shit on the poor, right? And the dispossessed, and we're a nasty, horrible, racist nation, as Laura Tingle has quite rightly pointed out. So I think it should have lent into that sort of identity. It should have been called like Posho Airlines.
VIP.
Yeah.
Air
and
VIP.
it should have been, and
Oh, this is the Charles. We needed a chairman's lounge airline.
yes.
They haven't taken it far enough. What we need is the exclusivity doesn't just stop on the ground. You can't go on this. It's like a private party. Like there's a bouncer at the door.
Yes.
And it's for people. It's for people who own property. Basically, is who it's for. Renters are just not allowed.
Yeah, renters are not allowed.
Millennials, anyone
Property
below the age of
investors,
40,
Yep.
forget about it.
There's a prayer room for the people politicians.
Yes, of
To
course.
sort of go and have sex. There's a place where you can launch defamation suits. Maybe there'd be an onboard.
That's good.
You know
An
how
onboard barrister.
Instead of having an onboard barrister where you can launch defamation suits from 30,000 feet.
Yes, and also maybe if the plane goes up high enough out of Australian airspace, you could just do insider trading. Would that be allowed? I'm
Yeah,
not sure what the
definitely.
rules are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
so
I think
crypto,
insider trading's basically allowed on
Sure,
ground.
that's true. Yeah.
Nowadays.
Who's going to find out about it?
If you look at ASIC,
buy and sell
yeah.
crypto, buy and sell people. I think that
and as you're flying into Canberra, you can buzz the ASIC building, like in open contempt.
You can
of
drop
ASIC.
the toilet's empty over the ASIC building as it comes into land in Canberra.
Yeah, you just openly flout the law.
What would you call it instead of? Well, you wouldn't call it Bonza anymore. What would be an appropriate attitude?
You'd call it 9 Entertainment Airlines.
9 Air.
Or no, you'd call it instead of Virgin, it could be fucked. Oh, you'd call it Parliament Airlines.
Parliament Airlines. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Air CEO or
Air
ASX
CEO, yeah.
ASX 200. C-suite. That's good. I like C-suite.
Yeah.
Because everyone on it would be a pack of C's, wouldn't they?
For your C-suite deals.
C-suite deals where you pay extra but it doesn't matter because it's on your expense account. See, that's how we would make it profitable.
Yeah, see, that would work.
And instead of gambling, I mean, I suggested before that perhaps you could have pokies in the air. Charles, you'd gamble with the entitlements of the staff and everyone's well-being, just like the owners of Bonza did.
Right.
You would get paid regardless.
Yep.
You couldn't possibly lose money flying this airline, but the staff could at any point. Just get retrenched.
And in keeping with true traditional Australian value, the Wi-Fi on board would be absolutely shit. It would just, like, the internet connection would be like NBN level.
That's harsh. That's very harsh.
Who's going to run it? We need somebody to run it.
I mean, Bruce Lemon could, supply it.
Oh, yes.
Bruce Lemon could,
We get
the mile high the club, the Itchy Nose Club. How far out of Australian airspace have you got to be before you can, bring out the mirror?
Yeah, I don't know. That's true. Like, if you manage, because I'm going overseas later this year, if I manage to smuggle some coke on board, like, is it legal when I'm in international waters to take that cocaine?
I think that the laws of the country where it's sort of registered apply throughout the whole flight. So if you're rich enough by the time you fly, you can do whatever you like under the law of Australia.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the point. Yeah, we don't even need to worry about the law, do we? Because this will just be executive.
There is one senior executive figure who's suddenly and unexpectedly on the market who could potentially run this thing, Charles. I talk, of course, of Peter Costello.
Peter Costello, yes.
And if anyone gets aboard and tries to ask any uncomfortable questions to the C-suite passengers, I think you need a door that opens, frankly, for a little bit of a mid-air shirt front.
They get door stopped. I am the chairman of the C-suite airline. Get off my plane.
Door swapped.
Boom.
Door stopped out the door.
Yeah, I love it.
I think not only is this a good idea, but we don't even need to make it happen. This is just someone's going to do this for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's essentially what we've described is basically Qantas. So,
wouldn't this airline run on time?
Oh, yeah. No, it would, wouldn't it?
You couldn't be Qantas. And you'd have customer satisfaction. And it wouldn't lose your baggage.
And you'd want to serve nice food and stuff as well.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
Yeah. It'd be C-suite airlines, yeah.
Should we crowdfund it?
You don't need to crowdfund it. You just need to, put it out to the right people.
And I reckon as long as you promise to hang a really flattering portrait of Gina Reinhardt in each...
That's what it should be. On the tail of the plane is a very flattering portrait of Gina Reinhardt. That's what you have instead of the logo.
Look, there's a whole lot of spare aeroplanes that Bonza's now got. Why don't we, we'll just...
I don't think I can afford to fly this airline that we're starting, but I reckon the right people will.
Well, that's part of the sales pitch, isn't it? Guaranteed Dom won't be on board. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. Our gear is from Road with part of the Iconic Class Network, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.